Is Donkey Kong Bananza a console seller, or has the Switch 2 fallen flat on launch? What's going on, guys? My name is Dan Davis. I'm the creative director here on DansTube.TV, and today I've got my full review of the Nintendo Switch 2. I've been playing it now for the last couple of weeks aggressively. Like, I've been playing all sorts of games: Cyberpunk, Splatoon 3, Donkey Kong Bananza. I played a little bit of like Nintendo Sports with the golf version, and a few other games like Rocket League as well as another one that I've played. So I've really tested it in all sorts of environments with the motion controls, tested it in the docked mode as well as in the handheld mode very thoroughly. And these are all of my thoughts so far when I compare it to the Switch 1, which I used for thousands of hours. First things first, when we look at the console, it's completely different. It feels different in the hand because it's so much larger now. The Joy-Cons are significantly larger. It's got a brand new magnetic disconnection and reconnection to the Joy-Cons. It's just a whole new feel. That feels really, really sturdy, nice and satisfying. And overall, it feels really nice in the hand, especially for someone like me with larger hands. I feel like the Switch 1 was quite small. Even though it was comfortable, it was quite a small device, right? And you would be a little bit cramped up, but this makes a big difference for someone like me and for a lot of the adults out there that are going to be playing this. That larger screen and those larger Joy-Cons do make a big difference. Now, in terms of the color and the overall design here, it's quite a fascinating design because they've gone with something a lot more subtle here. When we look at the original Switch 1, it had such a colorful palette of colors, right? All of the different Joy-Cons that were available were so bright, playful, and colorful, and it was a lot of fun, right? The inner child in all of us just loved that Joy-Con range. Now, so far with the Switch 2, we've got such a subtle color palette. It looks a lot more mature is how I would describe it. I feel like, you know, the original Switch 1 clearly was targeted towards families, children, and adults, and maybe was leaning more towards children and families. Where you look at this new console, and it feels like it's a more mature offering that will appeal to more adults, purely because it's such a simplified color palette, right? It's got that black design to it, nice and subtle, and then you've got some subtle accenting colors just behind the joystick. So we've got that blue, we've got that kind of sky blue, and that peachy color over here. Now, the color really pops when you disconnect the Joy-Cons, but still, it's such a subtle color palette, and I find that to be quite an interesting decision here. I do wonder whether this has something to do with kind of the optics of the console, whether they were looking at the research of who was playing the console and going, well, it clearly clicks with families and kids, and there's adults playing it, but I wonder whether they wanted to just broaden that out. They wanted to make it a more rugged offering, something that felt like a premium gaming console that adults would gravitate towards as well. Through the Nintendo store, we can see that there are a lot of really amazing high-end AAA titles that have now made it across to the Switch 2. We had a lot of them that were available on the original Switch 1, but the hardware could just not keep up. It was okay if you're playing handheld, but straight when you docked it, it would just fall apart. I found that performance would drop, and even sometimes playing handheld, it just wasn't an amazing experience with some of those AAA titles that were being ported across. But now with the improved specs to the Switch 2, it definitely feels like they're going for that premium AAA market now. I definitely can't wait to see what's going to come to the Switch 2. And so what I'm expecting from the Switch 2 is a huge library of AAA titles. I really do want to see that. I was impressed with the rollout with the Switch 1, but it just couldn't keep up with some of the other next-gen consoles. And I'm expecting a lot more ports and a lot more stable, reliable ports for the Switch 2 here. So when we talk about Nintendo, they're all about color, playfulness, and fun. And their intellectual properties, all of their IPs, the Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, all of those titles are just so exciting and extremely unique to Nintendo, right? No one else has that experience on any other console. First things first, I want to talk about Donkey Kong Bananza. And so when we saw Donkey Kong Bananza hit the market, a lot of people have given it almost flawless ratings. And I will honestly say I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been a blast to experience this open world with a fully destructible environment. Like, it's just a lot of fun. I find it almost therapeutic to just destroy terrain and explore new locations. It's really such a fun game and something that I haven't played before, so very unique in that gaming world. Is DK Bonanza a console seller though? I feel like at this stage, it's not completely a console seller. It's some of the most enjoyable gameplay that I've had in many, many years. It's such a unique experience that you've probably never tried before. Can't even imagine comparing it to anything else. It's just such a unique, fun experience. And it's great to see Donkey Kong in a new open world, destructible environment. It's a lot of fun. But a lot of the time it actually feels like Splatoon 3 when I think about the boss battles. A lot of the boss battles pretty much just feel like Splatoon 3 boss battles. They literally look the same, the character models are very similar. For me, who played through the whole Splatoon 3 campaign and thoroughly enjoyed it, it was a great campaign, but the bosses literally just look like the bosses in Donkey Kong Bananza. Some of them, I'm looking at them going, I swear that was a boss in Splatoon 3. So stuff like that's a little bit disappointing. There are definitely elements where it feels a little bit repetitive. A lot of the boss battles are easy. The game feels quite easy. Like there's only been a few challenges with a few of the bosses where I've kind of gone, oh, okay, I've had to repeat that multiple times. But outside of that, most of the boss battles are done within one attempt. A lot of the exploration is just purely that exploration. There's no huge challenge. Some of the challenge zones that you go into can be quite challenging, and as I'm getting to end game now, there's definitely some more challenging battles and kind of puzzles that I have to go through. But overall, it's quite an easy game to go through. It feels like just an adventure game with lots of exploration. So with that being said, I don't think the game is a console seller at this point. It's a phenomenal game, and anyone who has a chance to play it is going to fall in love with it. I put nearly 30 hours into it now, and it's just a lot of fun. I'm really wanting to get back in, finish the main story, and then explore more. And there's a lot of exploration to be had. It's a great game when it comes to that. Just that kind of sense of exploration is completely there. There's so much fun to be had. But I feel like when I'm looking at the console, it's great to see that there's a lot of other ported games that are coming across. Like we look at Cyberpunk, that's a game I got recently. It runs great on the Switch too. It's the first time I've ever played the game, and it runs really, really well. I'm impressed with how it's running. Regardless if it's docked or handheld, it runs smoothly. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that with this beefier hardware, the larger like Joy-Cons and screen, and just that better internal system going on, I'm hoping that we're going to have some more high-end AAA titles ported across, and even some older games that we didn't see on the Switch 1 coming across. We're always going to expect some first-party games from Nintendo that are going to be amazing. We'll see, I'm sure, some new Mario games, new Zelda games. I'm sure we'll see lots of really fun first-party games. Even a Splatoon game looks like it's coming out soon as well. But for me, I want to see some more third-party games coming across here running smoothly. I've been using the ROG Ally now for quite some time, which is a great Windows-based gaming device, right? Works really well with Steam. A lot of the games in there are just optimized for that handheld experience, but the battery life on it is terrible. Performance can sometimes be really hit and miss. Like if there's an update in the background or something going on, the game will just tank out. Sometimes performance is a little bit dodgy, but when we look at the Switch 2 and the original Switch for that matter, I love how you can just power it on instantly and it just launches in. Regardless of where I'm at, I can have this in idle mode for days, turn it back on, and I'll be in the exact same position. I don't have to go through Windows and awkwardly launch something to then play a game. It's just ready to go. And when it's in the idle mode, it's got great battery life. I find that when I'm playing games, battery life has been amazing. Like I am a casual gamer. I'm not sitting there playing for hours and hours and hours. But I find that I'm able to get, a couple of hours of gameplay, and then I'm like, okay, I'm happy to kind of put it on charge now. And there's still percentage to go, right? So for my kind of game style, perfect for that. We recently went away for the weekend. I didn't even take a charger with me because I knew I would only play very briefly, and it was great for something like that. But something like the ROG Ally, you just wouldn't be able to get that kind of performance out of it. So in terms of performance, in terms of battery life, in terms of the overall experience on the Switch 2, it's been such a joy. It's a true gaming experience. That's what I love about the original Switch, and then I love what they've done with the Switch 2. It's just for gamers. It's just great. At its core, it's a phenomenal gaming console. Now, one thing to mention is because of the larger Joy-Cons, because everything's larger here, It's really lightweight, so it's comfortable to play. You can lay down on the couch. It feels really comfortable for extended periods of time, playing on your lap while you're traveling, whatever that may be. Great for any scenario because it is so lightweight. But the thing I have noticed though is the placement of the Joy-Cons, because the sticks are a bit lower, the Joy-Cons are a bit larger, because you're holding it slightly differently. I find that that right stick, when you're looking around, can actually cause my hand to cramp up occasionally, especially with something like Cyberpunk, which is intense, there's a lot going on. It actually starts to get a little bit uncomfortable after an extended period of time. Something like Donkey Kong Bananza, no issues. Splatoon 3, I had a few issues. You can counteract that with the gyro control, so you can move the console to actually get, more precise controls. I find that I'm using that to offset that discomfort. But that is something to mention. I don't know if anyone else has mentioned that. When I've watched other reviews, it doesn't seem to be a comment that people make. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just me, how I'm holding it, but that right joystick can actually be a little bit of an annoyance for me if I'm playing fast-paced games like Cyberpunk. Looking at the interface on the Switch 2 and that overall experience with it, it feels almost identical to the original Switch 1. Nothing hugely different. All the kind of sounds are very playful and similar to the original Switch 1. The interface looks similar when you go into the profiles and into the store. Yeah, there's some slight tweaks. Yeah, it looks a little bit fresher, a little bit prettier. But overall, it feels like a very similar experience. It just looks very similar to the original. Some of the icons look different. There's a few additional options. But outside of that, no huge overlay to the user interface, which isn't a major problem, but it would have been nice to have seen just a little bit more excitement, especially because it's a brand new console. Like, it just feels like I'm playing the Switch 1, but with better hardware, which just feels a little off. Now, I do like the virtual game cards. That worked really well. You're able to download previous games that you've had on the Switch 1 onto the Switch 2, and as long as they're optimized, it works really well. You can also just get like a free upgrade to Switch 2 versions for certain games, or you just pay a little bit more to get that improved version with potentially better performance, better visuals, that kind of stuff. But I was able to bring across a few of my games. I was able to bring across Tears of the Kingdom, which works great. I was able to bring across Splatoon 3, Gang Beasts as well was another game, Rocket League, that kind of stuff that I already had there that I was able to just pull across. Works really well, and it downloads nice and quickly because a lot of the files aren't huge. So that system was great. I was happy that I was able to just pull across titles without having to go through the store and go through the whole process of trying to find it. I could just see my entire library in its own separate interface. Cyberpunk runs nicely on either docked or handheld, and no issues with like dipped frame rates or any sort of like buggy lighting effects or visuals or anything like that from my playthrough so far. I will say with Donkey Kong Bonanza though, in some of the more intense action scenes where there's a lot going on, maybe you're into a Bonanza form and you're, the elephant, and you're bringing in a lot of terrain, and then you're swapping across to something else, and there's a lot of explosions going on, there's a couple of enemies around you, stuff like that, it can tank, like the frame rate can drop a little bit and the performance struggles. But in most environments with all the destruction, it was flawless, regardless again if it's docked or if it's handheld. Cyberpunk runs great. I found that Splatoon runs great. I was playing a bit of Tears of the Kingdom as well, runs perfectly fine, which is what you would expect, really. Like, you wouldn't expect anything different here. Cyberpunk's great to see in such an optimized state, and that's what I'm hoping. If that's the kind of benchmark we have for Switch 2 ports, I'm hoping that we see more like that, more AAA titles coming across that are clearly optimized for the Switch 2. That's what I'm hoping for, and that's where I think this is going to be a big upgrade for a lot of people. In terms of Donkey Kong Bonanza, great game. I think it's a phenomenal game to play that everyone's going to enjoy, like regardless of age, regardless of interest level. It's a great game, so much fun, but right now in its current state, I feel like you can probably hold off, wait for some other first-party games to come in, see how supported the console is going to be from third-party developers. But in terms of the overall experience, it honestly feels like just a bigger version and a beefier version of the Switch 1. I love the Switch 1, but I sold that like maybe a year ago now, and then I waited a little while, got myself the Switch 2, and there's a lot of fond memories. It's such a great ecosystem. There's some amazing games already available. So for me, it's fun to just jump straight back in. I love jumping into like Gang Beasts, Rocket League, the Zelda games are great as well. And then the new DK game's phenomenal. It's great to play Cyberpunk for the first time on such a accessible, portable device. And there will be some other great titles that will come out. So it's almost just like a bigger brother, right? It's just a little bit more mature, a little bit more like efficient when it comes to its performance. It's got a larger screen, larger Joy-Cons. It definitely feels like it's a mature upgrade, and it feels like it's definitely more accessible for adults. I think when I look at the original Switch 1, I loved how playful it was. The colors were great, and I love that rail system when I originally got it. Like when you slide the Joy-Cons in, it makes that noise. It's so satisfying. But after some time, the rails would get a little bit kind of fiddly. I felt that like the movement of the Joy-Cons, you could feel it bending just a little bit because of that rail system, regardless if you're getting new Joy-Cons. Just over time, it started to kind of wear away a little bit, where the magnets on this are so strong and it connects and there's no sort of wobble. That's what I found. Like there was a bit of wobble with the original Switch, no wobble here. The larger screen makes a big difference just for, longer gaming sessions. And so I think they've done a good job, but it's definitely not for everyone. Like if you've got the Switch 1 and you're not thinking about selling it anytime soon, I feel like you could probably hold out a little bit longer and you'll be happy with it for a little longer. There's just not enough on the Switch 2 just yet. We've got a new Pokemon game coming soon, which looks alright. We've got some other games that will come out soon that are going to be good. The new Kirby Air Riders, it looks alright as well. Both games, Pokemon and Kirby, I'm not completely sold on. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But right now, DK Bonanza is definitely not a console seller. And the Switch 2 is one of those consoles that I think a lot of people are going to love. But are you going to love it right now, or are you going to wait a little bit? I think a lot of people are probably going to wait, right? Right now, it's a decent console, but it just feels like a slight upgrade from the original Switch 1, which is not a bad thing, but it's also not maybe enough for you to go out and drop a huge amount of money on a new console. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your amazing support, and I'll chat to you in the next one. Peace.